Hi, I'm Juanita and welcome back to the Knit Guru. I am really sorry that this is slowly becoming a Labubu channel. I have now settled on the fact that I don't hate the Labubu. I quite like the Labubu. But yeah, so anyway, this is the Labubu. It's not my Lafufu. This one's lychee berry, the pink one, because we know how I feel about pink. This is the one that I knitted. Turn around. There's a good girl. This one's definitely a Lafufu. This is a Lafufu that I knitted. Now, one of the comments I had on my website since publishing this pattern is one person overjoyed to find it because she went and bought a pattern for a knitted Labubu on Etsy, and it was just basically one of those AI generated nonsense ones, so she just threw money away, and a lot more money than I'm charging for this pattern. I put it up for free. There is a paid version for $1 on Ribbler, just if you want to be able to do an interactive pattern thing, but no, mine's free. Yeah. So, why am I here on this video, and why am I talking about Labubus, other than the fact that clearly there are people doing scam patterns out there? What I'm looking at is the fact that this Labubu is not wearing a cardigan. This Labubu needs a cardigan. So, in the ever-growing concept of using up my mother's yarn stash, which might have to be created into a playlist on this channel or a podcast or something, because I'm going to get through her stash well before I get through mine at this rate. We've got this vintage, it says that it's a 4-ply worsted, which makes no sense, all wool yarn made from Combined Wool Specialist Group 8A Beach Street, New Plymouth. It's 1 ounce. 28 grams, and that's the information it's giving me on here. There were several balls of this. I've used some of them. I think I have 2 left. So I'm looking at this yarn here, and it's a 4-ply, and if I use like a 3mm needle or even a 2.5mm needle, I can make a tiny cable cardigan. Do I want to do cables? Let's make a tiny cardigan first, and then, or maybe we'll do cables. Let's do cables. Let's do a tiny cabled cardigan for our Labubu. And if this pattern works out, well, if this pattern works out, you'll see it, because we're here right now on YouTube. You're watching this because you're seeing this in the future when this is existing. Oh, time travel and the internet, I tell you. Because this Labubu will be wearing a cardigan made of this, and there'll be a pattern for you if you too want to make a cable cardigan for your Labubu. Yes. Yes. Let's go. Am I Delulu for Lafufu? I probably am at this point, let's be honest. This is Lychee Berry, and Lychee Berry is modelling this beautiful cable cardigan. Why is Lychee Berry modelling this beautiful cable cardigan? Because I have made this beautiful cable cardigan. I can't remember if I've already done an intro for this video saying I'm going to try and make a cable cardigan for my Labubu. Or whether or not I've got around to actually writing it up as a pattern, or whether or not I have enough video footage to turn it into an actual tutorial. Either way, this little cardigan pattern is going to be listed on my website, and you too can go Labubu for Lafufu, and you can make a tiny little cardigan. I do think that I will be making Labubu a little vest at some point, because I did like making the little cardigan. I have no need for this in my life, none of us do. But look at this beautiful moss stitch and these cables going up Labubu's back. Oh, doesn't she look cute? Oh, Lulu. I'm going to Lulu. Never mind. So this here, I don't know if you're seeing this part of the video in the middle of the video. I don't know if you're seeing it at the end of the video. I don't know if I've tuned enough into this, into just a project on how to make this cardigan with a written pattern down below, or whether or not I've actually got enough footage to make this into a tutorial, or worse, whether or not I remake it and make another one of these for another one of my Labubu, so that then there's a cardigan for everybody. We shall see. Right, so as more and more of my tutorials are becoming, this is basically just going to be a video, and you will need to get the free pattern down below, but you can watch this video and see where I'm at along the process. So I'm using a 4-ply yarn, and this is a 3mm needle, but it'll also work on a 2.5mm needle. It just depends how tiny you want your sharp pointies to be. We're going to cast on some stitches and make a really small band. It's like 4 rows, so it's not going to take you very long at all. And then we're going to set up to do our cables. So the way this works is that we've got some stockinette stitch, then we've got a cable, then we've got some moss stitch, and then we've got another cable. So you are going to need a little cable needle. And what you're going to start seeing is that these cables roll away from the centre of our Labubu. So this is the back panel of our cardigan. Now, it's going to knit up quite quickly. If you're new to cables, this is not going to be hard for you to work at all, because every cable is cabling like every 6 rows, I think, or is it every 4 rows? It's in the pattern down below. So you'll see that then we get to this point where we've done 2 twists, and now we're going to cast off. That's so that we can fit around the armholes of our Labubu here. So we're going to cast off a few stitches at the start, and then we're going to carry on with the pattern as is to go up the rest of the back. So as you see here, we've gone a little bit further along. We've got the armholes rolling in a bit. Just ignore that for the moment. They'll come clean. You'll start seeing the increased bit. You'll see your cute little moss stitch area in the back. Now we're going to put some stitches on hold, which basically just means you're going to thread them on some yarn, and we're going to make these shoulder bits go over his shoulders, or her shoulders, a little bit further, because, you know, a Labubu is not a human shape. I mean, it's roughly human because it's humanoid, but, you know, it's not the same proportions. So we've got this centre moss stitch area that we're going to put on hold. And then we're going to knit a few rows on either side of our cable here. This is just to get over the shoulder portion, and then we're casting them off. That's what our finished back piece looks like. You'll be saying, Juanita, what am I doing with those ones on hold? I'm just going to say, hold your cardi, Granny. You're okay. We're going to pick those up when we do with the band around the front. So this is what we've got here. Now we're going to work on our front. Now our front is a little bit wider than the back, and that's basically just so that it's a little bit wider than half the back, but that's because our Labubu has got a belly. So we're just going to start working it up. It's going to be very similar, except we've got the cables on one side, so watch which way you're twisting your cables. Then we're going to cast off for the armpit area. We're going to keep shaping in. Now your shaping is happening on the side of the other side of the cable. The reason for this is because I wanted to keep the cable looking really cute. I didn't want to move anything around there, so it does pull things in a strange looking direction if you were making a cardigan for a human. Now we're doing the one on the other side that's going to match up there. That's a terrific video, Juanita. Well done. So we've got one side, we're just going to work on the other side. I'm not even calling them left and right because it gets very confusing as to whether or not you're looking at the right-hand side or if it's the right-hand side for the Labubu herself. So it'll come up the same sort of way. You've got your cables twisting in the opposite direction and your cables on the opposite side. But it's the same sort of thing. Once we're getting there, and we've almost got our front done, you're going to notice that it's going to start pulling in across the shoulder. Yes, very cute. And we've got 2 pieces and we cast them off. Now what we're going to do is just a little bit of sewing. We're going to take the back piece of our Labubu cardigan and you're going to lay it out. Now you can choose whether or not you want to do this on the inside or the outside. I'm doing it on the outside with some whip stitches because I can. What we want is the good sides or the outsides of the cardigan facing in the same direction, so that we're not going to accidentally make it the ugly side and then the good side. You'll see what I mean. But just, we're going to stitch up just those shoulder areas. So once our shoulder areas are just stitched up, you can do it on the inside, you can do it on the outside. I just use some whip stitches because I'm not precious about using a mattress stitch. I don't tend to even use a mattress stitch on my stuff. I just whip stitch because it's faster. So there we've got our little cardigan pieces. What we're going to do now is we're going to pick up all these stitches around the outside. You don't need to be too careful because Labubu's not going to complain. If you just pick up each of these little bobbles on the outside edge, so they're the knit stitches as you've on the first edge. There's like a wrap of yarn that goes around. You're just going to thread your needle through those little bobbles that are on the end. When we get to the neck portion, just sort of feel it out, pick up a few more. It's not going to be as neat as it is up the front. When we get to the bit across the back, you're just going to take those stitches off of hold. By that, you're just going to thread the needle through those stitches and go right across. So you're just going to pick up a few here across the shoulder area. Then you're going to pick up the ones across the back. And we're just going to knit a few rows of our rib stitch and cast off. You're going to cast off in the same manner that you would be knitting. So you're going to knit your knits and purl your pearls, if that makes sense. Now we're going to do the same thing on our armpits. So we're just going to pick up the stitches around the outside and we're going to knit a few rows. Now the Labubu doesn't really have an arm length to speak of, so it's just going to be a few rows. There's no arm shaping, it's just a few rows of rib. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our Labubu cardigan and we're going to fold it at those shoulder seams again, and we're just going to stitch up down the sides and across the little band that we've got for the arms at the moment. We're going to darn on all these ends as well. What I have got on order that still haven't arrived yet is little teeny tiny beads to be buttons for this cardigan. So mine's just still sitting there waiting for them. But there we go. There's our little Labubu cardigan all finished. It looks cute against her back. It wraps around the front. If my tiny little beads come through, I don't need a buttonhole because I can just shove it through the knitting. But I'm going to make a little button and put it on there. Right, so here we are at the end of this video. Hopefully by now you either have this cardigan all for yourself, or you know, you've just enjoyed watching it and seeing my Labubu in the try-on process. YouTube thinks you'll like this video up here. This one down here is a little playlist. At this point I can probably make an entire playlist of Labubu based projects. Oh, what have I become, honestly? And then if you do want to stick around and deal with more of my chaos, there's a subscribe button floating up there, as long as I remember to put them up there. I will catch you next week. Bye. Labubu, labu, labu. I'm going to have to make a crochet cardigan at this point as well. Bye.